Sophia Zamora stared up at the elegant Victorian-style mansion, the key in her palm feeling heavier than it should. "Just water the plants and check the mail," her roommate had said, making it sound so simple. But standing before the three-story architectural masterpiece, with its manicured gardens and circular driveway, Sophia wondered if she'd agreed to something far beyond her pay grade. "It's just for the weekend," she muttered to herself, squaring her shoulders and marching up to the imposing front door. She inserted the key, listening to the expensive click of the lock mechanism before stepping inside. The interior took her breath away. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, and furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum rather than someone's home. Light streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating what had to be millions of dollars worth of art on the walls. Sophia stood frozen in the entryway, afraid to touch anything. "This is insane," she whispered, carefully setting her weekend bag down by the door. Her roommate Vanessa had mentioned that the owner was well off and traveled a lot for business, but this wasn't well off, this was obscene wealth. Sophia pulled out the list of instructions Vanessa had given her. Water the rare orchids in the conservatory twice daily. Check mail and packages. Feed the koi in the backyard pond every evening. And most importantly, make sure the security system remained armed at all times. She wandered through the house, feeling increasingly out of place in her worn jeans and faded t-shirt. The kitchen was something out of an architectural magazine, all gleaming stainless steel and marble countertops, with appliances she couldn't even identify. The dining room featured a table that could seat 20. The living room contained a grand piano that looked like it cost more than her entire college education. As she explored the first floor, she noticed the distinct lack of personal touches. No family photos, no knickknacks. It felt more like a showroom than a home. The sound of her phone ringing startled her. It was Vanessa. "Hey, did you find the place okay?" her roommate asked cheerfully. "Yeah, I found it," Sophia replied, unable to keep the awe from her voice. "Vanessa, you didn't tell me I'd be house-sitting for a millionaire," Vanessa laughed. "Oh, Mr. Frost is way beyond millionaire status. He's a billionaire, tech industry, but don't worry about it, he's super down to earth." "A billionaire." Sophia hissed, suddenly feeling even more uncomfortable. "Why would a billionaire need me to house-sit? Doesn't he have staff? He values his privacy. Most of his staff get time off when he travels. Look, it's easy money, right? Just follow the instructions and you'll be fine." After hanging up, Sophia took a deep breath. This wasn't a big deal. She'd water some plants, feed some fish, and spend the weekend in luxury. Maybe catch up on her job applications in a setting far nicer than their cramped apartment. The conservatory was her first stop, a glass-enclosed paradise of exotic plants and flowers. The orchids weren't hard to find. An entire wall was dedicated to them, each in its own specialized pot, with what appeared to be a computerized watering system that had been temporarily disabled. Right. Just a regular weekend, she told herself, carefully measuring water into each pot as instructed. That evening, after feeding the koi, who lived in a pond larger than her first apartment, Sophia settled into one of the plush living room sofas with her laptop. The security system was armed, the plants were watered, and she had the entire mansion to herself. She'd even found a well-stocked kitchen and was told to help herself to anything she needed. The quiet was almost eerie after months of living in a noisy apartment building. Outside the windows, twilight descended over the city. Below the mansion was perched on a hillside with spectacular views. Sophia allowed herself to imagine, just for a moment, what it would be like to live in a place like this. To have this kind of wealth and freedom. She was deep into updating her resume when a sharp beeping sound made her jump. The security panel near the entryway was flashing. Someone was at the gate. Panic flooded her system. No one was supposed to visit. Vanessa hadn't mentioned any expected guests or deliveries. The security monitor showed a sleek black car at the entrance gate. Sophia scrambled to find the instructions for handling visitors. There was nothing. The house phone rang, making her jump again. After a moment's hesitation, she picked it up. "Hello, this is Isaac Frost. I'm at the gate." The voice was deep, authoritative, and clearly used to being obeyed. Sophia's mouth went dry. "Mr. Frost, I thought you were out of town. Plans changed. Could you please open the gate?" Heart pounding, Sophia pressed the button indicated on the security panel, watching on the monitor as the gates swung open and the car drove through. This wasn't supposed to happen. She'd been promised a quiet weekend of house-sitting, not a face-to-face meeting with a billionaire whose home she was temporarily occupying. She rushed to the entryway, frantically smoothing down her hair and wishing she'd worn something nicer than sweatpants and a university hoodie. The sound of footsteps on the front porch sent her into a fresh panic. The door swung open, and Sophia found herself face-to-face with Isaac Frost, billionaire tech mogul and owner of the mansion she'd been admiring all day. He wasn't what she expected. Tall, yes, and impeccably dressed in what was clearly a bespoke suit, but younger than she'd imagined, mid-30s at most. His dark hair was slightly ruffled, as if he'd been running his hands through it, and his eyes, an intense shade of blue, were weary. "You must be Sophia," he said, setting down a briefcase and regarding her with what seemed like mild surprise. "Yes, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting you. Vanessa said you'd be away all weekend," she stammered. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. That was the plan. "Unfortunately, the Tokyo deal fell through, so here I am." He glanced around as if reassuring himself that his home was still standing. "I hope I haven't disrupted your arrangements." "No, I mean, it's your house. I should probably go, that won't be necessary," he interrupted smoothly. "The guest house is being renovated, but there are plenty of bedrooms. You're welcome to stay. I believe we agreed on payment for the full weekend." Sophia felt her cheeks flush. The idea of remaining in the house with its owner present felt awkward, but she did need the money. "If you're sure." Isaac nodded, then seemed to notice the laptop and papers spread across his coffee table. "Working on something, job applications," Sophia admitted. "I graduated last month, still looking for something in my field." "Which is?" "Environmental science with a focus on sustainable urban development." Something flickered in his eyes' interest, perhaps. "Fascinating field, growing rapidly too." An awkward silence descended. Sophia had no idea how to act around someone of his status. Should she offer him something? Ask if he needed anything? Leave him alone entirely? Isaac solved the dilemma by loosening his tie and saying, "I'm going to get changed. Please continue what you were doing. We'll sort out the house-sitting details later." After he disappeared upstairs, Sophia collapsed onto the sofa, her heart racing. How was she supposed to relax and continue working with a billionaire wandering around, and not just any billionaire, one who happened to be unexpectedly attractive and far less intimidating than she would have guessed? When Isaac returned 20 minutes later in jeans and a simple button-down shirt, he looked so much more approachable that Sophia found herself staring. He caught her gaze and raised an eyebrow, causing her to quickly look away. "Have you eaten?" he asked, heading toward the kitchen. "Not yet." "I'm starving. Mind if I cook something for both of us?" The question was so unexpected that Sophia just blinked at him. "You cook?" A genuine smile spread across his face, transforming his features. "Is that surprising? Kind of," she admitted. "I guess I assumed billionaires had personal chefs or something." "Sometimes," he acknowledged, opening the refrigerator and surveying its contents. "But cooking relaxes me. After the day I've had, I could use the distraction." Curiosity got the better of her. "What happened in Tokyo?" Isaac pulled out ingredients and set them on the counter with practiced efficiency. "A merger I've been working on for months fell apart at the last minute. Politics, mostly. Nothing I could control, but disappointing nonetheless." He spoke so casually about what must have been a massive business deal that Sophia couldn't help but be impressed. She found herself drawn to the kitchen, perching on a bar stool at the island counter while he worked. "So, environmental science," he said, deftly chopping vegetables. "What drew you to that field?" The question launched them into a surprisingly engaging conversation. Sophia found herself explaining her passion for creating sustainable urban spaces, the research she'd done on green infrastructure, and her dreams of helping cities adapt to climate change. Isaac asked thoughtful questions, revealing a genuine interest and impressive knowledge of the subject. When he set a plate of delicious pasta primavera in front of her, Sophia realized they'd been talking for over an hour. "This looks amazing," she said, suddenly aware of how hungry she was. "It's nothing fancy," he replied, taking the seat across from her with his own plate. "But sometimes simple is best." Over dinner, their conversation shifted to Isaac's work. He explained his company's focus on developing advanced AI systems for energy optimization technology that aligned surprisingly well with Sophia's environmental interests. He spoke passionately about projects that went beyond profit margins, describing initiatives focused on sustainability and social good. "Most people think all tech billionaires care about is the next big thing that'll make them richer," he said, refilling their water glasses. "But many of us are trying to solve real problems." "Is that why you live alone in this enormous house?" Sophia asked before she could stop herself. "Sorry, that was rude." Isaac laughed, the sound unexpectedly warm. "Fair question, I travel constantly. When I'm home, I value my privacy." "But you're right, it is excessive for one person." As they cleared the dishes together, Sophia insisting on helping despite his protests, she found herself relaxing in his presence. The intimidating billionaire was transforming before her eyes into a real person, intelligent, thoughtful, and surprisingly easy to talk to. "I should let you get back to your job applications," he said finally. "Don't let me keep you from your work." "Actually," Sophia replied, surprising herself with her boldness, "I'd love to hear more about your sustainability initiatives, if you have time, I mean." The smile that crossed his face made her heart skip a beat. "I'd like that." They ended up in his home office, where Isaac showed her presentations about his company's environmental projects. Sophia found herself offering suggestions and perspectives he seemed to genuinely appreciate. When she glanced at her watch, she was shocked to discover it was past midnight. "I've completely hijacked your evening," she said, standing up quickly. "I should let you rest." "This has been the most enjoyable conversation I've had in months," Isaac replied, his gaze holding hers for a beat longer than necessary. "But you're right, it's late. Second floor, third door on the right has been prepared for guests. Make yourself comfortable." Lying in the luxurious guest bed later, Sophia tried to process the surreal turn her weekend had taken. She'd expected to spend 2 days alone in a mansion. Instead, she'd shared dinner and conversation with one of the wealthiest men in the country, a man who, against all odds, seemed to value her thoughts and ideas. She fell asleep wondering what the next day would bring. Morning arrived with the gentle sound of rain against the windows. Sophia woke slowly, momentarily confused by the unfamiliar surroundings before remembering where she was. The guest bedroom was bigger than her entire apartment, with a private bathroom featuring a shower that had more settings than she knew what to do with. After dressing in the nicest casual clothes, she'd brought dark jeans and a simple blouse. She made her way downstairs, unsure if Isaac would be awake yet. The aroma of coffee guided her to the kitchen, where she found him reading something on a tablet, a steaming mug beside him. He looked up when she entered, and the warmth in his smile made her pulse quicken. "Good morning. Coffee, please," she replied, trying not to stare as he moved around the kitchen with easy grace, preparing her cup exactly as she preferred after asking how she took it. "I hope you slept well," he said, sliding the mug toward her. "Better than I have in months," Sophia admitted. "That mattress is amazing. Memory foam imported from Sweden, helps with my back after long flights." He gestured toward the windows where rain continued to fall. "I was planning to show you the gardens today, but the weather has other ideas." The casual way he said it, as if spending time with her was a given, caught her off guard. "You don't have to entertain me. I'm sure you have work to do." "I do," he acknowledged. but I've been thinking about our conversation last night. Your perspective on urban sustainability aligns with a project my foundation is considering. I'd value your input if you're willing." Sophia nearly choked on her coffee. "My input? I'm a recent graduate with zero real-world experience." "You have fresh ideas and genuine passion," Isaac countered. "Sometimes that's more valuable than decades of experience in established paradigms." The sincerity in his expression convinced her he wasn't just being polite. "I'd be honored," she said. They spent the morning in his home office, reviewing proposals for green infrastructure projects his foundation was considering funding. Sophia found herself completely engrossed, offering insights and asking questions that seemed to impress him. The ease of their interaction was surprising. He treated her as an equal, valuing her opinions and building on her ideas. When lunchtime arrived, they prepared sandwiches together in the kitchen, their conversation flowing naturally from professional topics to more personal ones. Sophia learned that Isaac had built his company from scratch after dropping out of MIT, driven by a vision of AI systems that could optimize energy usage across urban environments. He spoke about his parents, both teachers, and how they'd instilled in him the importance of using privilege to help others. In turn, she told him about growing up in a small town, being the first in her family to attend college, and her determination to make a difference in environmental policy despite the competitive job market. "What's your dream position?" he asked as they sat at the kitchen island, rain still pattering against the windows. Sophia considered the question seriously. "Ideally, I'd work with a city planning department or an environmental consulting firm that specializes in urban development. Somewhere I could help implement green infrastructure on a meaningful scale." Isaac nodded thoughtfully, and Sophia had the strange sensation he was really seeing her not just as a temporary house sitter or even as someone with useful professional insights, but as a person with dreams and ambitions of her own. "Have you applied to Sierra Urban Planning?" he asked, mentioning a prestigious firm known for its cutting-edge approach to sustainable cities. Sophia laughed. "They only hire people with years of experience. I've been applying to entry-level positions at smaller firms, hoping to work my way up." Something flickered in Isaac's eyes, but he simply nodded and changed the subject. As the afternoon progressed, the rain stopped, and Isaac suggested a walk through the gardens. The grounds were even more impressive than they had appeared from inside, perfectly maintained pathways winding through flowering shrubs, ornamental trees, and hidden seating areas. The air was fresh after the rain, filled with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. "This is incredible," Sophia said as they paused by a small waterfall feature that fed into the koi pond. "Do you maintain this yourself?" "I have a landscaping team," Isaac admitted, "but the design was mine. It's a hobby creating spaces that blend nature with human elements." "Another connection to my field," she observed with a smile. "Perhaps that's why we get along so well," he replied, his eyes meeting hers. The moment stretched between them, charged with something Sophia couldn't quite name. Standing beside him in this beautiful garden, she felt a connection that went beyond their shared professional interests. The spell was broken by the ringing of Isaac's phone. He glanced at the screen and frowned. "I need to take this. Business emergency, I'm sorry." "Don't apologize," she assured him. "It's your weekend too." While Isaac handled his call, Sophia wandered the gardens alone, trying to make sense of the feelings stirring inside her. She was attracted to him, that much was undeniable, but it wasn't just his obvious good looks or even his wealth. It was the way he listened when she spoke, the passion he showed for making a difference, the respect with which he treated her despite their vastly different positions in life. When she returned to the house, she found him in the kitchen, phone still pressed to his ear as he paced. His expression was tense, his voice firm as he discussed what sounded like a complex technical issue. Sophia quietly slipped past, not wanting to disturb him, but he caught her eye and mouthed sorry with a rueful smile. In the living room, Sophia returned to her job applications, trying to focus despite the lingering thoughts of the man whose house she was occupying. It felt surreal. 24 hours ago, she'd been stressed about house-sitting for an unknown billionaire. Now she was sharing meals and meaningful conversations with him, feeling a connection that defied logic or expectation. It was nearly an hour before Isaac joined her, his expression apologetic. "Sorry about that. One of our systems had a critical failure. Is everything okay?" "It is now." He sat beside her on the sofa closer than necessary and glanced at her laptop screen. "Still job hunting, always," she sighed. "It's a competitive field." "What if," he began, then stopped himself. "Never mind." "What?" Sophia pressed, curious. Isaac seemed to be choosing his words carefully. "I was going to suggest I could help, but I realize that might seem presumptuous, or like I'm trying to leverage my position inappropriately." The thoughtfulness of his concern touched her. "I appreciate that. And while I wouldn't turn down advice, I do want whatever job I get to be because I earned it." "I respect that," he said, a new warmth in his gaze. "It's refreshing, actually. Most people I meet want something from me." "Well, I already got dinner and a tour of your amazing garden," Sophia joked. "I'm not greedy." His laugh was genuine, and something shifted in the air between them. The professional distance that had maintained a boundary despite their growing connection seemed to dissolve. "Would you have dinner with me tonight?" Isaac asked suddenly. "Not here. There's a restaurant I know that has an incredible chef who specializes in farm-to-table cuisine, very aligned with your environmental values." Sophia felt her heart rate quicken. "Like a date." "Yes," he said simply. "Like a date." She should say no. This was her employer technically. A billionaire she'd known for barely a day. Someone from an entirely different world than hers. But the connection between them felt real, and the way he looked at her made her want to explore whatever this was. "I'd like that," she said finally, "but I didn't bring anything fancy to wear." His smile was warm. "It's not that kind of place. They care more about the food than the dress code." That evening, they drove to the restaurant in Isaac's less ostentatious car, a hybrid SUV, rather than the luxury sedan that had brought him home. The restaurant was tucked away in a converted farmhouse on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by gardens that, Isaac explained, supplied much of their produce. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and inviting. Rustic wooden tables, soft lighting from iron chandeliers, and windows overlooking the gardens. They were seated at a corner table that offered both privacy and a beautiful view. "This is amazing," Sophia said, looking around in appreciation. "How did you find this place?" "The chef used to work for me," Isaac explained. "She left to pursue her culinary dreams, and I was one of her first investors. The restaurant practices what I preach: sustainable operations, minimal waste, support for local agriculture." As they enjoyed the incredible meal, each dish introduced by the chef herself, who greeted Isaac with genuine warmth, Sophia found herself falling deeper into conversation with him. Away from his mansion, in this cozy, unpretentious setting, he seemed even more relaxed and authentic. They talked about books they loved, places they'd traveled, childhood memories, and future dreams. The more she learned about him, the more she realized that beneath the billionaire exterior was a man with genuine depth, intelligence, and compassion. "Can I ask you something personal?" She ventured as they shared a dessert of locally sourced berries with honey from the restaurant's own hives. "Of course. With everything you've achieved, all the success, are you happy?" Isaac looked surprised by the question, then thoughtful. "Not always," he admitted. "I'm proud of what I've built and I believe in the work we're doing, but success can be isolating. People see the wealth, the company, the public image. Few people see me." His eyes met hers across the table. "Until now." The honesty of his answer created an intimacy between them that transcended their brief acquaintance. When his hand reached across the table to cover hers, Sophia didn't pull away. After dinner, instead of returning to the mansion, they walked through a nearby park, street lamps illuminating the path as the evening darkened around them. Their conversation continued to flow easily, punctuated by comfortable silences that felt natural rather than awkward. At a small footbridge overlooking a stream, they paused, standing close enough that Sophia could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "I have a confession," Isaac said, turning to face her. "When Vanessa arranged for you to house sit, she mentioned you were looking for work in environmental science. I may have asked a few questions about your background." Sophia raised her eyebrows. "You researched me before I came to your house." "Not extensively," he clarified quickly. "Just enough to know you were trustworthy. What I didn't expect was to find someone whose passion and perspective would captivate me so completely." The sincerity in his voice made her breath catch. "This is crazy, isn't it? We barely know each other." "Do we?" he challenged gently. "In the past 24 hours, we've discussed everything from global environmental policy to our favorite childhood memories. I feel like I've known you much longer." She couldn't argue with that. Something about their connection had bypassed the usual getting-to-know-you phase, creating an understanding that felt both new and familiar at the same time. When he leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, Sophia found herself meeting him halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, a question more than a demand. But as she responded, it deepened, becoming something that sent warmth spreading through her entire body. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Isaac rested his forehead against hers. "I didn't expect this," he murmured. "Neither did I," she admitted. "It doesn't make any logical sense," he smiled. "The best things in life rarely do." Back at the mansion, the dynamic between them had shifted. What had been a growing connection was now an undeniable attraction, evident in every glance and casual touch. They stayed up late into the night, talking in the living room, sharing another bottle of wine and learning more about each other with every passing hour. When Sophia finally yawned, unable to hide her exhaustion, Isaac walked her to the staircase. "Sleep well," he said, kissing her softly. "We still have tomorrow." The next morning, Sophia woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of music drifting up from downstairs. She found Isaac in the kitchen, making pancakes while singing along to a jazz standard playing through the house's sound system. "You're full of surprises," she said, accepting the coffee he immediately poured her. "Billionaire, environmentalist, chef, and now I discover you can sing." "Only when I'm happy," he replied, the implication of his words making her blush. They spent the day together, first hiking a trail near his property that offered spectacular views of the city, then visiting a farmer's market where Isaac was clearly a regular, greeted warmly by vendors who showed no sign of treating him differently because of his wealth. In the afternoon, they returned to the mansion and worked side by side, Sophia on her job applications, Isaac on some project documents. The domestic comfort of it was striking. It felt natural to share the same space, to exchange ideas, to move around each other with an ease that belied their short acquaintance. As evening approached, reality began to intrude. Tomorrow was Monday. Sophia would return to her apartment, to her job search, to her normal life. Whatever magical interlude they'd shared would come to an end. "What are you thinking?" Isaac asked, noticing her pensive expression as they prepared dinner together. "That tomorrow I go back to reality," she admitted. Back to being a recent graduate struggling to find work, not someone sharing meals and conversations with a billionaire. Isaac set down the knife he was using and turned to face her fully. "Sophia, these past 2 days, they've meant something to me. This isn't just a weekend diversion." "How could it be anything else?" she asked, voicing the doubt that had been growing in her mind. "We live in completely different worlds." "Do we?" He stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "We care about the same issues, we connect on multiple levels. The differences in our circumstances are superficial compared to what we share." Sophia wanted desperately to believe him. "Even if that's true, what happens next? I go back to my apartment, you return to your jet-setting life, and we occasionally text each other until the novelty wears off." Isaac's expression grew serious. "Is that what you think this is? A novelty?" I don't know what to think, she admitted. This whole weekend has been surreal. Then let me make something very clear, he said, his blue eyes intense. I haven't felt this way about someone in years, maybe ever. The fact that you walked into my house by coincidence feels like the kind of luck I stopped believing in long ago. He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. I'm not asking for promises, I'm just asking for a chance to see where this could go. The earnestness in his voice melted her resistance. I want that too, she admitted. I just don't want to get hurt when reality intrudes. Then let's face reality together. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, offering it to her. Sierra Urban Planning, he said as she read the card. They're looking for someone with exactly your qualifications and perspective. I called them this morning not to offer you a job, but to suggest they interview you. The decision will be entirely theirs, based on your merits. Sophia stared at the card, emotions warring inside her. You didn't have to do that, I know. But I believe in you, and I believe you'd be an asset to them. Whether anything happens between us or not, you deserve that opportunity. His consideration finding a way to help without undermining her independence or values touched her deeply. It spoke to the kind of man he truly was beneath the wealth and success. Thank you, she said finally, tucking the card into her pocket. For believing in me. Always, he replied, and the promise in that single word made her heart swell. That night, after a dinner that felt both celebratory and bittersweet, they sat on the terrace overlooking the city lights, talking about possibilities. Not making plans exactly, but exploring the potential of what they might become together. I travel a lot, Isaac acknowledged. But I'm trying to change that, to be more grounded, more present in my own life. And I'll be busy building a career, Sophia replied. If I get that interview, if they hire me, I'll be working long hours to prove myself. So we'll both be challenged, he said, his arm around her shoulders. But isn't that better than easy and meaningless? She couldn't argue with that. What they'd found in each other, this unexpected connection, this mutual respect and growing affection, was worth pursuing, regardless of the obstacles. When Monday morning arrived, Sophia packed her bag with a strange mixture of sadness and hope. The weekend that had begun as a simple house-sitting job had transformed into something life-changing. Isaac drove her home, the conversation between them comfortable despite the uncertainty of their future. Outside her apartment building, he turned to her with determination in his eyes. "Dinner Wednesday?" he asked. "I know a great place that serves authentic Ethiopian food." Very sustainable practices. Sophia smiled, the knot in her chest loosening. "I'd like that. And in the meantime," he added, "good luck with Sierra. Their HR director should be calling you today." As they said goodbye with a kiss that held the promise of more to come, Sophia reflected on the remarkable turn her life had taken. She'd agreed to house sit for a weekend, not knowing the owner was a billionaire who'd soon love her. Now, stepping back into her regular life, she carried with her not just memories of a mansion and luxurious surroundings, but of a connection that had the potential to grow into something beautiful and lasting. 3 months later, Sophia stood in front of the Sierra Urban Planning offices, taking a moment to appreciate how much had changed. She'd been hired after a rigorous interview process that had tested her knowledge, creativity, and problem-solving skills, a job she'd earned entirely on her own merits, despite Isaac's initial introduction. Her relationship with Isaac had developed naturally, navigating the challenges of their different lifestyles with honest communication and mutual respect. They'd found a rhythm that worked for both of them: quiet dinners at her apartment, weekends at his mansion, long conversations about their shared vision for a more sustainable future. Tonight, they were celebrating her first major project approval, a green infrastructure plan for a developing neighborhood that incorporated many of her innovative ideas. Isaac had promised something special, though he'd been mysterious about the details. As she entered the restaurant, their favorite farm-to-table place where they'd had their first date, she spotted him at their usual corner table. The smile that lit his face when he saw her still made her heart skip. "Congratulations," he said, standing to kiss her as she joined him. "I'm so proud of you." "I couldn't have done it without your support," she replied honestly. "Yes, you could have," he countered. "You're brilliant, dedicated, and passionate about your work. Those qualities would have found their way to recognition eventually." Over dinner, they talked about her project, his latest company initiatives, and the charity gala they were planning to attend the following weekend. The ease between them had only deepened with time, growing into a partnership based on shared values and genuine affection. When dessert arrived, Sophia noticed something unusual: a small potted orchid, similar to the ones she'd watered that first day in his conservatory. "What's this?" she asked, touching one delicate petal. "A reminder of how we met," Isaac said, his expression turning serious. "And hopefully, a symbol of our future." As she watched in surprise, he moved from his seat to kneel beside her, taking her hand in his. "Sophia, these past months have shown me what I was missing in my life. Not just companionship, but partnership with someone who challenges me, inspires me, and makes me want to be better." He reached into his pocket and produced a small velvet box. "I know it might seem fast, but when you know, and I know that I want to build a life with you." He opened the box, revealing a ring with a central emerald surrounded by smaller diamonds, beautiful but not ostentatious, perfectly aligned with her values and aesthetics. "Will you marry me?" Tears filled Sophia's eyes as she looked from the ring to the man kneeling before her, not the billionaire, but the thoughtful, passionate person she'd grown to love. "Yes," she whispered, then more confidently, "Yes, I will." As he slipped the ring onto her finger and gathered her into his arms, their fellow diners breaking into spontaneous applause around them, Sophia marveled at how a simple weekend of house-sitting had led to this moment, to finding not just love, but a partner who shared her dreams for a better world. Sometimes, she reflected as Isaac held her close, the most extraordinary journeys begin with the simplest decisions. And sometimes, those decisions lead exactly where you're meant to be.